Well, we're rolling along in our electric Leaf. It's a little creepy and quiet, but hey, got a clunk in the front end every once in a while.
Hey.
Kind of hard to hear.
Oh, I thought you were talking about me.
But you got to stop. So I'm going to go ahead and stop. You got it on channel 1. I got a sensor on both sides. I know it's coming from the front, but I don't know which one. So let me take off.
Okay.
Oh, I heard a little bit, but it's not really on that side. Go ahead and switch to channel 2 and let me come to a stop.
Channel 2's the right side.
All right, let me give it a little gas. Here we go. Ooh,
a little clunk there.
That's down there. I can't hear it audibly, but boy, it's sure coming up there one more time just for. Oh, there it is.
It's only under acceleration.
Ooh, so it's on the right side.
Yep.
We're gonna have to take this into Tech Garage and diagnose it. Today we'll check out this clunking Leaf. So all passengers grab all little children's by the hand and all personal belongings, because the Leaf's pulling a Tech Garage. The automatic doors will open to the right. Welcome to Tech Garage, presented by rockauto.com. Well, we got our electric Leaf in the shop and up in the air. That's right, I said electric Leaf. I know there's a fear when it comes to repairing electric vehicles. This is the No Fear Electric Leaf Repair Show. Why? Well, everything's the same down here. We got a clunk. You heard it on our test drive. Stop, go, a little clunk. We really couldn't even isolate from what side it's coming from, but we knew it was coming from the front end area. So what do? Well, we got our chassis here under there. You saw it in the car. We saw what rattle was going on. Actually, on the right side over there, we have a sensor down there, and then right here, I had the other sensor we were riding with. Now check this out. Here's what was going on, and I want to show you how actually sensitive this is. So what's going on this side, we were seeing channel 2, and on channel 2, if I had a clunk in the rotor or the caliper, you would have seen it. If I have a clunk in the strut, you would have seen it. Maybe it's in the drive axle, you would have seen it, or any of the suspension components down here. It's just that easy to at least isolate where it's coming from. How did we do it? Well, the sensor's located right here. I can pull it down, and it's just a tie strap little sensor on there. It goes to all the different parts of the chassis, and we can isolate where it's coming from. That's pretty cool. Now, what do? We found the clunks over here. Well, like in Tech Garage fashion, we always do a visual inspection. Step number 1, verify the customer's concerned. We got the clunk. Number 2, do a good visual inspection. So what did I do? Well, I come over, pulled and tug on the strut assembly, nothing. I come over to the spindle, pulled and tug on it, nothing. Caliper, wiggling, nothing. I even got a pry bar, and I pried up and down on the suspension components here, the lower control arm, the ball joints, all tight, fairly new car. I even come over to the actual axle, and I'm clunking on the axle back and forth. I can spin the wheel. There's really no clunk in the system. I'm at my wit's end. I have no idea what's going on.
John, 2 tools you're gonna need for this. I've already done a little research.
Wait a minute, let me guess.
Yep.
Got an axle nut here, but I pull it up and down on the axle, and I have an issue there.
All right, think a little harder.
Something to do with the transmission CV axle.
I like to see you flopping around like that, but I'll rescue you here.
Thank you.
Yeah, there's a technical service bulletin. It's been issued.
Here we go.
It was in June, so it hasn't been out that long, and it looks like it covers just about all of Nissan's lines in regards to a clicking noise from the front or rear axle during takeoff or acceleration.
That's ours.
Exactly what we have.
And this season's all about doing a little bit of research, strategy-based diagnosis, technical service bulletins. You saw them before, but they're little quirks with the cars the manufacturers know about, some kind of fixes that we could never figure out. Now, we got a CV axle from rockauto.com. We can get all the components for electric car. It doesn't make any difference, but it looks like a pretty simple fix, Dave. It says you're going to remove the actual nut on the CV axle nut right here, the castellated nut, and just put a little Molly Coat grease down there, and I guess what's that doing is filling up that clunk a little bit. At least we can isolate it. If it's still there, we'll replace the axle. If not, but let's give this a shot, all right? Or
you got
let's.
Well, yeah, I like how you use the us.
I don't like that let's.
I'll take care of it.
I'll take the bulletin.
Thanks a lot, John. We've got this castellated nut on the outside. It's being held in place by this cotter pin, and you can see this is it's kind of flimsy. I'm hoping it's actually going to break. If not, I can cut it here. We'll see. Straighten it out to pull it out. Okay, it's not going to break, so I'll just cut it. There it goes. Pew! That's why we wear safety glasses all the time. Even the simplest things, you never know when something's going to fly off and grab you, and it's the unexpected stuff that'll get you. So there's that pin. We're going to have to replace it with a new one, obviously, when we get done. And we're going to pull off this castellated nut here. You can see the shape of that nut, and that is how it keeps from rotating there. The cotter pin actually goes in between these little these little tabs there, and it keeps that from rotating. That holds it all in place. Kind of looks like a little bottle cap there. And then to get the nut off here, off the axle, we are going to use a little force. And there we go. Came off just like that. We'll show you how to put it on later, but before we do that, when we come back to Tech Garage presented by rockauto.com, John is going to show you how this entire system works. We'll be right back. Stay tuned.
Tech Garage, presented by rockauto.com, is brought to you by AP Laser, leading the way. Steel Rubber Products, quality crafted rubber parts and weather stripping. And by rockauto.com, all the parts your car will ever need.
That's right, it's electric. Welcome back to Tech Garage, presented by rockauto.com. Well, it is time to take a look at some drive axles and a transaxle, and how is that system actually working? Well, you guys are familiar with this rear differential. We actually looked at it in show 1 of Tech Garage. We did some Lincoln stuff. So right here is what's going on. This is the actual pinion that goes back to here, and then it actually ties into the ring gear right here. So what, you have a drive shaft on a rear-wheel drive car coming back, connecting to the pinion, turning the ring gear, and your axles go out and drive. We've done that a few times, but what we haven't seen here is a constant velocity or CV axle. This is pretty cool. So this is the one right here on our Leaf, and this is the exact one on our Leaf. We're gonna go ahead and follow the bulletin, and if that doesn't fix it, no worries. rockauto.com has us covered with a brand new axle. We'll just go replace it totally, but we're gonna follow the bulletin to a T. But here's the deal. On one side of this, you have an actual plunge joint. So that goes in and out. Why does it go in and out? Well, it has to change effective lengths according to suspension movement, because this is fixed to the actual chassis. Out here is actually to the frame. It's gonna move back and forth. So this one's fixed. This one's gonna flex back and forth with the actual chassis. Now on this side, it's a fixed joint. And I'll get to that in a second, but take a look at this graphic right here. You can see you either have a tripod tulip, which we have on the inner one, I'll show you in a second, and then the double offset or a cross groove on the inside. So that's pretty neat. You actually want to see how it works? Well, once again, in true Tech Garage fashion, here we go. We actually took one apart and cut it away. Now remember, you have a bunch of grease inside of here in these boots. So there's another diagnostic for you. If this boot rips and your grease flies out, you got a problem. Or if you're turning and it's clicking, very characteristic of a bad CV axle. Now here's our tripod right there. You can see it run back and forth. And what's going on here, you got these bearings that are riding in all that grease that's encased in this boot. And bam, I'm changing length with suspension. This side though is actually fixed. You can see it as I turn it back and forth. This is the actual fixed joint. This is connected to the spindle, and when you turn the car, this is what turns. But you're continuously getting constant velocity, or your CV joint keeps you driving along. How does it all work? Well, it wouldn't be Tech Garage if I wouldn't explain it thoroughly. So here we go. Right here I have a transaxle assembly, not a transmission, a little bit different. Why is it different? Well, on this side, I actually have the engine feeding the input right here. So my engine's feeding power right here. When it goes through this input shaft, check this out. I'll drive it around for you. And you can see on this side, I'm coming into the input here, and with the chain that goes all the way around, I'm actually connecting to the transmission components. Now from here, back is pretty much the same. And earlier this season, Dave gave you a good lesson, Dave and Josh showed you how a transmission works, but I can show it to you right here. So if I get to the back of this transmission, you can see what's going on. I start right here with all the planetary gear sets, the bands, the planetary gear sets. Now everything stops right here. Because it's a transaxle, the axle's built in right here. So this is the spider gears you would see in a normal differential, and our Leaf splined right here, goes into there, pops out, comes out to the actual drive axle, front wheel, and you're ready to drive. Speaking of ready to drive, we need to check in with them. I hope they got our Leaf ready to drive.
And that is the kind of explanation you get when you're working with a certified master technician and a college professor. Well done, John. Now it's our turn, Josh, to put this all back together here.
That's right.
Yeah, so I need to push the axle back here. And you can do it with your hand, but it's not a good idea.
Yeah, it'll probably be seized up a little bit.
Yeah, and it could really hurt your hand. You want to get yourself a little more surface area, and you just put it, and you want to protect the threads too. This way, if you need to push it with your hand, you can, but sometimes it's frozen up, you give it a little whack. Nice. I think ours is pretty free, so I'll just push it here.
That's good.
There it is.
Okay. Yeah, and I have the grease that it calls for, the moly grease that the TSB says we need to put on there. I have my favorite tool in the shop, handy dandy paintbrush.
We call it Molly because we can't pronounce molybdenum. Yeah.
All right, we're going to go ahead and paint the inside of these spline threads. If you can push in on it a little bit.
Push in?
Yeah, there you go. Good, I'm getting in there.
Okay.
All right, maybe even rotate the rotor. That'll help me out some. I'll get it all the way around the splines.
Easier said than done here.
Oh, come on, Dave.
Get a little pry bar to help us out. You ready?
Some of this Molly coat on here.
You ready?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay.
See if you can turn it. Perfect. Let's put that in on the splines.
Alrighty.
If you go ahead and rotate a little bit more.
You know, a lot of folks are intimidated by electric cars, like we said earlier. But really, you know, outside of the power plant, everything's just the same. And you're still dealing with mechanical stuff. You're still dealing with the systems that have been in place for a long, long time.
Right, I don't have to worry about the CV axle shocking me. Not yet.
Yeah, not yet. They haven't developed the electric CV joint yet.
All right.
Is that good?
That'll get it. Yeah, that's
All right.
everything. Good.
Very good.
I think all we need to do now is just tighten the nut down
Okay.
a little bit, snug it up, and then we can torque it after that.
I'm going to run it down here. Watch your ears. That'll do it. I got you. Sorry, man. I had to do it. All right, now we're going to use that same nut. And in case you're wondering, 1 5/16. And we've got it torqued to 89, according to the TSB.
Go ahead and wedge this in.
Yeah, you got to hold that because otherwise I'll be
There you go.
pulling against nothing. Here we go. And the 89 is a lot, so you may have to hang on this here. There it is.
Perfect.
Okay. And we are good to go. We'll button this up and we'll be done. We're going to do that during the break. And when we come back, a little Garage Ed talking about power steering pumps. So stay tuned to Tech Garage presented by rockauto.com. All right, here we go, Josh.
Welcome back to Tech Garage, presented by rockauto.com. Well, in this Garage Ed segment, we are talking about a rack and pinion. Now, put on your thinking cap. This is super difficult. Look right over here. Rack, back and forth, and pinion. Rack and pinion. So the pinion's down there, and we're moving it back and forth. It's actually driving the rack to the right or left. This would be your steering shaft. Now, you don't want to go put vice grips on your steering shaft. I get it. Steering shaft comes down there. We're just showing you for a demo. So we're turning it back and forth. You can see it really cool. Now, up here, you got a series of spool valves. Now, the spool valves are pretty cool as well because that's going to direct fluid to one side or the other side of the rack. Why do we want to do that? Hell, power steering. That's why we want to do it. Just come over here and turn it. These little holes are going to determine which way it goes. So sometimes these little Teflon rings can bleed by. You get a condition called morning sickness. It's hard to turn the car to the right or left. You might want to replace the rack. Now you can look inside of here as well. And right inside the rack itself, you can see right here. So what's happening, the spool valves directing the fluid. And I'll give you an example. Let's say there's a massive amount of pressure on this side and then on that side. Well, bam, it's going to push the rack in that direction, giving you a little bit of power assist. If I have a massive amount of pressure on this side and I'm venting that side, voila, it goes that way, over to the other side, giving you that power assist. Now, when we're dealing with racks, a couple of things we can do. Now, BBB Industries and Moog, rockauto.com sells all those parts. This is a quality rack right here, and you can actually see it. What's happening here on the tie rod end? On the tie rod end, if you pull a rack off a vehicle, what you want to do, and it's for the toe measurement. Now, this is not precise, but at least it'll get you to the alignment shop. So what you want to do is you want to take the tie rod end, and when I got the tie rod end up here, what I want to do, I'm just going to slip it over for demo purposes. I want to go and measure that. I want to make sure that I count the threads or measure or how many turns I take that tie rod end off to replace it onto my other rack. Why is that? Well, your tires are towed in or tow out. That's coming up in a few weeks, but this will give you a general idea. At least you won't wipe out the tires before you get to the alignment shop. Now, that's a couple of tips and tricks, but Dave has a bunch more when it comes to the rack and pinion.
Well, Johnny, as with anything else, we're going to do a visual inspection here on our rack and pinion system here on the old Dodge. Now, looking at the system here, we've got our tie rods here at the end. We want to check the tie rods, and we want to check the tie rod ends to make sure everything is secure. We also want to make sure that we don't have any mounting issues. And the way to do that is to take a pry bar and just put it here between the frame and the steering system and it's not moving anywhere. Now, if that's moving, you obviously have a mounting issue. Could be an issue of just a bolt that needs to be tightened down or something that's missing. And you'll, of course, notice it when you're driving because you have all kinds of steering slop as you go down the road. Being electric, this here on the Dodge has electrical connections. You want to check all of those connectors to make sure everything is secure and everything will be functioning properly if that is the case. You might want to clean them off a little bit too, because all the grime from the road is going to be hitting those as well. And you check the boots here to make sure that they are intact. And if you have a hydraulic rack and pinion system, you might have some fluids leaking around the edge or maybe through the boot itself. If that's the case, you need to order a new rack and pinion assembly from our friends at rockauto.com. When we return to Tech Garage presented by rockauto.com, we're going to talk about engine compression and how to test it. Stay tuned.
Tech Garage, presented by RockAuto.com, is brought to you by Clamp Tight, the clamp making tool, Magic Creeper, the most versatile creeper ever, and by RockAuto.com, all the parts your car will ever need.
Welcome back to Tech Garage, presented by RockAuto.com. Well, we're winding this thing down, but we made it to the Master Technician Tech Tip. This one's all about compression. You want to make sure your engine has good compression. You need about 90 PSI in the cylinders for it to run right, but check your service manual. And you want to make sure you have compression in all of your cylinders. If one cylinder had low compression, it might not fire and your engine might not run right. So what you're looking for is you're looking for even compression all the way across the board, and you're looking for about 90 or more. Check your service manual. For example, let's say you had all the cylinders were low on compression. You can look at it right there. Well, you see you either have a burnt valve, something's going on where you don't have any compression. It could just be a tired engine, or your timing may be affected. Maybe you just have adjacent cylinders, two cylinders right here that have low compression. Well, think about it. If this one's supposed to have 100 and this one's supposed to have 100 and it only has 50, maybe they're sharing compression back and forth because of a blown head gasket down here. That would be a problem as well. So you want to do a compression test. You can actually do one out on a junkyard engine and see if it's in good mechanical running condition, so you can take it home and you'll know at least you have compression, you're in good shape there. How do you do it? Well, you just warm up the engine. You get it to operating temperature, and then you want to remove all the spark plugs. I'm just going to remove one here for demonstration purposes, but once it's hot. Now, what you want to do is you want to get an air chuck, and you want to blow any debris away from the spark plug. Sometimes you have an engine where the spark plug's located in the center of the head. Boy, that debris builds up in there. Blow it out of there, or it's going to fall into the head. Then I simply just get a wrench, come over here, crack my spark plug loose, which I already done. Come over here and unscrew it. Once I get it out of there, I want to insert the pressure gauge. But before we do that, I'm going to go over here and take the air cleaner off. That's right, I said air cleaner. Boy, that's a thing of the past. What a beautiful thing. Air cleaner. Now, what's going on here, you want to block the throttle wide open. So I'm just going to take this little clamp right here, open it up, and block the throttle. Why? Because I want to make sure I have no restriction for the air going in, so when I run compression, it's equal and it's a fair reading throughout all. If I had a restriction here, it's really not an accurate reading down there. So I'm going to take the gauge, screw it into the spark plug hole, the little hose here that connects to the gauge. You know, we got this at rockauto.com. We also got a cylinder leakage kit. We can do all kinds of mechanical checks on an engine with the tools right there out of the tool catalog at rockauto.com. Once I got it in there, I'm going to clip it on right here. Now what I need to do is I need to go through 4 compression puffs, 4 compression cycles. What does that mean? Well, I disabled the fuel pump or disabled the ignition and turn the engine over. Listen, it's going to go na-na-na, 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 na-na-na. Watch the gauge every time it does it. Wow, yeah, this one's right at 90, maybe a little bit low. You might want to go check either the rings or something's going on. Go around and check them all. Engine starts to get old, it gets tired, you start losing compression. That's a good indication of how your engine's running mechanically. That'll tell you a lot of what's going on. Well, you may have some blow-by that's getting by the rings down in your engine. No worries, Tom and Dave have you covered.
Tom, blow-by has always been part of the engine compression discussion, but through the years, that's sort of evolved and changed. How so?
Well, yeah, it's always been you have to figure out how to get clean air into the crankcase and dirty air out. Ancient cars used to be out into the atmosphere. Now it's sucked into the engine and burned up.
Better idea.
Yep. And part of that was you'd have a PCV valve that most of us are familiar with. You just plug in a new valve as part of regular maintenance, and that controls that airflow to clean air in, dirty air out burned up in the engine. Well, newer cars have PCV valves or PCV systems that just may not look like that old valve, and you'll find those under exhaust and emission at rockauto.com.
Excellent. From the biggest part down to the smallest part, rockauto.com has all the parts your car will ever need.
Oh man, this thing is creepy, but high tech at the same time, Dave. I mean, this is like driving the monorail at Disney World.
I feel like we're on the Jetsons as we go past.
This is crazy, I'll tell you what. So cool, man. We got all the different power levels up there. We got a full electric and, hold on. Oh, we got a little power.
Got some go too, which is cool.
The key is though, let's come to a nice stop here. That TSP said on XL we shouldn't have a clunk. There we go, you ready? Here we go, ready?
Not so far, let's try it again.
Whoa, clunk on XL. So let me stop again, decel, and then we'll take off. Here we go.
Okay.
Oh, man. It's
Clean
a
everywhere.
win.
People forget these electric cars, you know, high tech everywhere else, but you know, deep down inside, it's still a machine. It's still mechanical, like cars have always been. Just the power plant's electric, and sometimes it's just back to the basics.
All right, I think we got it whooped, Dave. Hey, but we're out of time for today.
Yes, sir.
So make sure you join us. There's plenty more Tech Garage, just same network, same time. Check us out on social media, all kinds of cool stuff going on. If it's not electric, it's something else cool, but that's it for today. See ya.
There yet.
Oh yeah, hang on, we'll get there.
Production assistance for Tech Garage is provided by Chipola College, located in Marianna, Florida. Founded in 1947, Chipola was ranked recently as one of the top 3 community colleges in the United States.